Hey you guys, I am back again with another drugstore video. Today we are doing my Ulta Beauty version. I spent $50 at Ulta and you guys will not believe how much makeup I came away with. 10 items in total, including 3 eyeshadow palettes. There are a couple of asterisks that I'll kind of get into as we get into the video as far as like some of the stuff was on sale. I might have had a coupon, but I am pretty impressed with what I've tried out so far. Some of these products you will have seen other people try before. They're all new to me, but a couple of them are new releases that I can't wait to share with you guys. Love how this look came out. I hope you guys are excited to get into it, but before we do, special welcome if you are a new visitor here. Thank you for joining me today. Please consider subscribing before you leave. Also make sure notifications are turned on. But now let's get into the makeup. Okay, first things first. I have a new primer to try. This is one that I am sure most of you have tried. It's the e.l.f. Power Grip Primer. I've been meaning to try this for a really long time. I haven't seen it in my local drugstore, which has kind of surprised me. I mean, this thing has been around for a couple of years. I know a lot of people love this primer. I've also never tried the Milk Makeup Hydro Grip Primer. That said though, you guys, I just got a package, a PR package for Milk Makeup. Kind of shocking. I've been getting a lot of PR, well, a lot. I've gotten 3 PR packages from brands that I've never gotten PR from before, and as someone that does not get PR very often, I was very excited about that. So I will be trying that one out as well, and maybe I can compare it to this one. So far, this feels different than anything that I have tried so far. It is very, I don't know if sticky is the right word. It's just very grippy, I guess you could say. It's not as hydrating as I was kind of hoping it might be. We'll have to see how this one wears. This was the most expensive thing that I picked up at $10. Now I don't have a new foundation and concealer to use today, so I'm just gonna use my NARS Light Reflecting Foundation just because I'm very familiar with this foundation. And then for my concealer, let's do something drugstore. Let's go with my Wet n Wild Incognito Concealer. Still having major packaging issues with my NARS bottle. By the way, the shade that I use is Salzburg. I'm gonna use a brush. I actually like this foundation most, the finish of it most with a sponge, but I like the coverage I get with a brush. And because it's a more expensive foundation, I like to start with a brush so that my sponge doesn't soak up so much product and then finish it off with a little bit of a blend from my sponge just to get the finish how I like it. I know initially it looks a little bit dark on me, but I do have some self-tanner on my neck, so my actual face is much lighter than my neck, as you can tell. You guys, I need to stop with the self-tanner. I just can't stop. Can't go back to being fair like I was before. It's not even that I have anything against my fair skin, but as you get older, you have like veins in places that you didn't have when you were younger that are nice to cover up with a little bit of self-tan, so it is addicting. I'm just gonna go in with my sponge. I did put a tiny bit more on my sponge. I'm just gonna go around the spots I need a little more coverage and just blend everything out really well. All right, now for some concealer, my Wet n Wild Incognito. I use the shade Light Honey. Such a great drugstore concealer. Underrated in my opinion. I'm gonna add a little bit to my eyelids as well and blend that out. I have a new blush and a highlighter, but I want to add a little bit of contour, a little bit of bronzer next. I'm gonna add some of my Milani liquid contour. So this one I actually just like to kind of draw on. I like to apply this one the same way that I apply my Merit cream bronzer. Go back to that sponge, use the back end, and just blend that around the edges. All right, now let's move on to blush and highlighter. I do have a new blush and a highlighting palette. Now these I kind of happened upon by accident. I had about $12 left to spend in my cart, so I wandered over to the sale section of the Ulta website and I saw that Lottie London had a lot of their products pretty seriously discounted, including this blush right here. This is the Lottie London Ombre Blush. This one's in the color Haze, which is just kind of like a basic kind of corally pink. I'll insert a close-up for you guys right here. It looks really pretty. This was only $3.47. I think normally it was around the like $7 or $8 mark. But let's give this a try. I'm gonna take my blush brush from Rephr. So I'm gonna start by like tapping that off on the back of my hand. I'm not sure how pigmented this is gonna be. I'm gonna do quite a bit of blush today because I don't have much bronzer on, just a little bit of contour. I'm gonna go back to my sponge and just blend around the edges. I also have a highlighter palette from Lottie London. Again, this one was on clearance. I think it was like $5, $5.49. Here it is right here. Let me insert a close-up for you guys right here. These look a little dark, but one of the reviews of this palette, which did get pretty good reviews, said that the colors don't go on as dark as they appear in the pan. I have another palette like that, the Spotlight palette from BH Cosmetics I feel that way about. So let's just give these some swatches. Just do it kind of on the outside of my hand. You guys ignore my hands today. Had some problems with my self tanner. That's okay. Okay, so there's the darkest shade. Pretty reflective. Here is the pink tone shade next to that. And then the white shade on the bottom row, and then the gold on the bottom row. So there are the four. Those are definitely usable. This one's probably too dark for me, but these three definitely I could get away with as a highlighter. Pretty formula. They're not very glittery, so let's give these a try. I'm gonna take my Sydney Grace brush right here. I'm gonna go ahead and just blend all three of these shades together. And just, ooh, that's pretty. That is very reflective, deceivingly reflective. I was not really expecting that much intensity from those swatches, but the downside to things being on clearance, there is a possibility that some of these clearance items won't be available when I post this video, or won't be on sale anymore. I don't know which is worse. Okay, holy smokes, guys. I don't know that I have a highlighter that intense. I think most of that is coming from this white shade. Maybe if I didn't want something quite that intense, I'd probably go with one of these two shades right here. I mean, that's pretty bold even for me. I'm just gonna tap over that with my sponge, just really press it into the skin, kind of tone it down a little bit. I really like that formula though. It's very reflective, but it's not chunky looking. And I do have a lot of texture on my cheeks right now. In fact, I just in general lately am having some really rough skin issues going on. Okay, so there are the cheeks. Really like that highlighter and that blush. Very, very pretty. Let's move on to the brows next. I don't have a brow pencil or brow pen. I do have a clear brow gel that we're gonna try from Essence. But let me just fill my brows in really quickly first. Let me brush them up. First, I haven't put anything in them yet. I usually like to put something in from the get-go, but let's just brush them up. We're gonna use my Weekend Brow Pen from Milani. I did my brows with this the last couple of days. I used this, the ColourPop Feather Effect Brow Wax, the clear one. I put that in first, and then I put this in, and then I put the NYX Brow Glue on top, and they do not go anywhere. I love how they look. They look super feathery. Last all day. Just been loving that brow look lately. Okay, so here's the product that we're gonna test out today. This I've been meaning to try for quite a while. This is from Essence. It's their Brow Styling Soap Set. Basically just some clear soap. Here you have this little spoolie. I will likely end up throwing this away. It is super, super tiny. Probably just use one that I already have, like my ColourPop one right here. So it says that you're supposed to just wet your brush and then dip into the clear stuff right here, which is basically just like a clear bar of soap, I'm guessing. So I'm just wetting my brush a little bit. We're gonna dip in there. Kind of build it up in my brush. Have you guys ever actually used bar soap on your brows? I've always wanted to try that, but I just don't buy the right kind of bar soap to do something like that with. I don't think Irish Spring is meant to go on your brows. This stuff was pretty cheap though. I don't know if I put it on the little close-up, but it was $4.99? Yes, $4.99. Okay, I'm starting to feel it set down as it dries. Okay, looks good so far. I'm just gonna give that a few minutes to kind of set down. I will try not to disturb it while we are waiting. Let's do things a little bit differently. Let's move on to the lips, and then last we will do the eyeshadow, because I have a lot of eyeshadow palettes that I picked up that I wanna walk through with you guys. But I also picked up some exciting new lip products, including 2 lip liners that I've been wanting to try. One of them is from LA Girl, their Shockwave Nude Lip Liner. I ended up going with the shade Mauve, so this one right here. I've heard these last really long. Let me give them a little swatch on the back of my very dirty hand. So there is the shade Mauve. I initially had like 2 or 3 different colors from each of these brow pencils. This one right here is from Essence. It's the 8 Hour Matte Comfort Lip Liner. And this one, by the way, is in the shade Rosy Nude. Ooh, that's a beautiful nude shade. So this is more of a peachy nude. This is more of a cool toned kind of purpley nude. Love both those shades. Those are pretty. Okay, so which one do I want to use today? Actually, let me swatch the lip oil that I got. I did pick up the NYX Fat Oil Lip Drip. I ended up going with this one, which is the shade Follow Back. Kind of like a golden peachy. This actually reminds me of the original Fenty Gloss Bomb, the color of it. Okay, let's give this one a swatch just on the back of my hand as well. There it is right there. Okay, it definitely swatches like the Fenty. Curious to see how it feels. So there is the swatch. It's pretty sheer. You could definitely use either. Let's go with this one right here, the Essence. I'll have to come back and do the LA Girl. I just feel like this might be a little too cool tone for the gloss and also what we'll probably end up with on the eyes. These are supposed to be long wearing, and by the way, this one needs to be sharpened. This one is retractable. I prefer retractables because I feel like you don't waste product. But these were both pretty cheap, so I don't mind that much. This one from Essence was $3.99 and then $4.49 for the LA Girl. So I'm just gonna overline with this one. Slightly fill in. I really like the consistency of these. They're very creamy. Now for the Fat Oil Lip Drip. So this has 0.16 ounces of product inside, kind of standard for a drugstore. I wanna say the Maybelline has like 0.19 and 0.18. They smell delicious. Kind of sweet and fruity. They're pretty comfortable. They actually feel a lot like the Fenty Gloss Bombs to me. Maybe a little bit thicker than the Fenty, but not necessarily sticky. I'm just gonna go back to my highlighter palette. I've like been addicted to doing this lately, you guys. Let's take a little fluffy brush. Let's go into the gold one. And I just wanna put a little bit in the center. I love how that looks on the lips. It's not the glossiest gloss in the world, which I kind of just assumed from the marketing of these. They looked so like drippy and glossy that they would have a little bit more shine in them. Don't get me wrong, I think they're really pretty. They're just not quite as like reflective and juicy and glossy looking as I was thinking they would be. They're not quite as glossy looking as like the Fenty ones are, but similar. And they smell good, which is a major bonus for me, as you guys know. Let's finish off with the eyeshadow palettes. Plural. I got 3 eyeshadow palettes. I really stretched my money at Ulta this time, you guys. I did have a $10 coupon. That plus some things that were on clearance and then a couple things that just were really, really affordable. Some of those being some eyeshadow palettes. So let's walk through what I picked up first and then I'll decide which one I want to use. The first one I put in my cart that caught my eyes from LA Girl, they have these foreplay eyeshadow palettes. This is so pretty. Unfortunately, mine came shattered. So this shade right here was shattered all over the little bubble bag that this stuff came in. I did have enough inside the packaging to kind of press it back in there, most of it. I didn't want to bother contacting them to get a replacement. It's not that big of a deal to me, but just be aware of that. May want to try and buy these in store. This one looks so pretty though. Here's a close-up of the palette and the swatches for you guys. This gives me Natasha Denona Sunrise vibes, big time, even though there are only 4 shades. This yellow right here is very, very impressive. Such a pretty little palette if you like these kind of sunrisey colors. I also picked up this on clearance from Lottie London. Again, this was so incredibly cheap. I paid under $4 for this. I think it was like $3.98. I love this color story. I was actually pretty impressed with these swatches as well. It's kind of a simple looking palette. Not the fanciest or most creative color story, but if you like your neutrals and they still have these and you don't mind a little bit of warmth, I think this one looks so pretty. This would totally match my shirt today, but I'm not sure I'm gonna try this one out today. I'm leaning towards either the LA Girl one or this one, which was $9.99 from Essence. It's the Hello Berlin palette. This thing had really good reviews. They had a couple palettes of these kind of larger travel themed palettes from Essence that had great reviews. This one, I thought the color story was just so simple and pretty, but still kind of smoky. Love how these swatches look. Here's a closer look right here for you guys. Isn't the packaging of this thing so adorable? I just love the cover art of this. I think it's so, so cute. So I don't know, guys. It's between these two right here. I feel like this one is not going to match me today. I might hold off on this one. Let's give this one a try. You guys know I have problems that way. Okay, so let's start with this one. I'm gonna jump into this shade right here, this kind of peachy coral. Let's use my Persona brushes. I did officially wash these with soap and water and not makeup remover. I'm gonna start with this shade right here. I loved how these swatched. I was so impressed with the mattes, especially that black. Go back to that swatch and just note that that black was one, it wasn't even a very intense dip into that shade. It was just one little dip, one little swipe. One of the most pigmented blacks that I think I've swatched in a while. Okay, with what's left on my brush, I'm gonna take a little bit of this shade right here. This is kind of just like a peachy ivory shade. I'm gonna run this slightly above where I ran that last shade. This is kind of gonna highlight my brow bone, but also like mix with that other color and just add a little bit above my crease. Have you guys tried some of these palettes out from Essence? They had another one. Oh, what was the other one I was thinking about trying? I can't remember. It might have been like the London one, but I decided to go with this one. This is just such a me color story. Couple basic shimmers in here that are kind of light, and then these kind of like greens that aren't quite green. Now let's dip into this on the back end of this brush. Run it under the lower lash line. I probably would not have had as much success if I would have shopped in store versus online. I feel like you get the benefit shopping online because you can look at sales sections. There are things available that aren't always available in store. So in that way, I think Ulta definitely had the advantage. Now let's go into this shade right here, the kind of greenish gray. For someone that doesn't like gray tones, if they have just a touch of green in them, it goes from something I don't like to something that is one of my favorite shades to reach for. Are shades like this, just so pretty. All right, and we're gonna go back to that smudge brush that I used. I'm gonna use that same grayish green, just the tiniest bit on the tip of the brush. We're gonna run that just under the outermost part of my lower lash line. Okay, I know I said that I'm not one to reach for matte blacks very often, but I feel like I have to try out this matte black. So let's use this kind of more as a liner. I'm gonna take this very small, dense smudge brush right here, just put a little bit onto the tip and run this right at the lash line. Just wanna see how this blends. Now back to that back end of the smudge brush. I didn't put anything else on here. I just want to use this to kind of blend the black into the green. It's super smoky, but very, very pretty. Let's add a little bit of this shade right here. It's kind of a gold. It's like a soft bronzy gold. Let's add that to the center. Then we're going to take this really bright shell pink right here and add that to the inner part of the lid. Overlap that gold we put down. Back to that smudgy brush, I'm gonna go back into a tiny bit of that black that got covered up with the shimmer, so I'm just gonna pull back some of that black. Very pretty. Okay, let's add some mascara. I do not have a new one. I'm gonna go in with my e.l.f. Lash and Roll. Then I'll come back and we'll have one final analysis. All right, here is everything all put together. Love how this one turned out. This eyeshadow, I mean, it's not the most bold look. It is pretty neutral, but I love that smokiness. These shimmers performed really, really well. They're not the most reflective shimmers, but they're really, really nice and thick and pigmented and opaque. They kind of remind me of Persona's formula. Really happy with this one. I'm excited to keep playing with it. Let's talk about some of the other things I tried out that most impressed me. Maybe next to the eyeshadow palette, next in line as far as what I'm kind of surprised that I'm loving are my brows. My brows, they definitely are set in place, but they have that kind of soft matte feel and they look really nice and feathery. Really love how they are looking. I hope they hold up well throughout the day. Not bad so far for a $5 brow product. I also really like the lips. I think my lips look really pretty. I feel like this is kind of warming up the longer it's on my lips and the softer it gets. Pretty comfortable, loving the color of it. I definitely like it more that I added that little bit of shine to the center. That obviously is gonna depend on what you have underneath because it is quite sheer, but I actually really like this stuff. Love how it smells as well. The lip liner looks really pretty. I love the color of it. Pretty basic kind of peachy pink nude shade, but I love shades like this that aren't too light or too dark, too pink or too peach. I feel like that's what you get with this one. Hopefully it lasts well. I'll try and work this one into maybe another video coming up. The primer, it's gonna take me a little bit of time to get to know it. My skin feels really nice. Like it felt nice underneath my foundation, but I think it's gonna take me some time to figure out if I like this. It's a different primer than what I have tried before. As for the cheeks, really like how my cheeks ended up looking. I'll keep you guys posted on that highlighter. I feel like it's a little bit too icy. Like, I'm not sure I like the white on me personally. This would be really pretty on the inner corner. Not sure I like it on my face, but I do really like the formula of these. I think these two shades are perfect. And then the blush is really pretty. Nice and vibrant and poppy. I feel like this would show up on a lot of different skin tones. But I think that was everything. I have to say, this might have the win as far as how far my $50 went and also how well the things I tried out ended up working out. I think this is probably my best try so far. Part of that's due to my $10 coupon, part of it to the Lottie London sale. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if you have any thoughts on any of these products. Have you guys tried out the lip drip? How did you guys like it? What did you think it compared to? Also, let me know, do you guys have your eye on anything from the Ulta 21 Days of Beauty sale? I went through everything online just yesterday. There were a couple things that caught my attention. I'm not sure I'm going to be trying much out from the sale this year, mostly because I already spent my makeup budget on these drugstore videos, but that's okay. I have a lot of fun stuff to keep playing with. Thank you guys again for joining me. Hope you guys are all doing well. Let me give you one last reminder. Please consider subscribing before you leave, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.